The warning signal. The deep hum of Earth's largest radio telescope broke the stillness of the night. At the Space Observatory in Chile, Dr. Alina Kor, a brilliant young astrophysicist, leaned closer to her monitor. For days, her team had been analyzing a faint but unusual signal coming from the far reaches of space. Tonight, that signal grew stronger. It was no ordinary noise. It carried patterns, rhythm, and structure, proof it was artificial. The signal's origin was from a distant star system light years away. Alina's fingers trembled as she adjusted the settings to decode it. Her team crowded behind her, their faces reflecting excitement and fear. Finally, fragments of the message appeared on the screen. Help, extermination, coordinates, destruction imminent. Alina read the words aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. The room fell silent. The implications were too great to ignore. Someone, or something, was reaching out for help. But who, and why? As the hours ticked by, the scientific community across the globe connected to discuss the signal. Governments got involved. Was this a plea for rescue or a trap? The United Nations Space Command, UNSC, called for an emergency meeting to decide the next step. Meanwhile, in the heart of New York City, a young journalist named Leo Hart received a leak about the mysterious signal. He published an article online, and within hours, the news went viral. Humanity was divided. Some believed this was a chance to prove Earth wasn't alone. Others feared that answering the call could bring an unstoppable enemy to their doorstep. Back at the observatory, Alina stared at the data. She wasn't convinced this was just a random distress call. The message seemed urgent, almost desperate. She highlighted a part of the transmission that most others had overlooked. The coordinates. Whoever sent this wanted humanity to find them. Alina, her colleague Ethan, whispered, snapping her out of her thoughts. "You need to see this." He pointed to a live feed from the UNSC moonbase. Dozens of monitors showed a fleet of unidentified ships entering the solar system near Jupiter. They were massive, sleek, and unlike anything humans had seen before. "Are they connected to the signal?" Alina asked, her heart pounding. "Unknown," Ethan replied, his voice tense. "But they're definitely not from Earth." The UNSC scrambled to make contact with the alien fleet. Military satellites zoomed in on the ships, broadcasting Earth's standard communication signal. Minutes passed with no response. Then one ship in the fleet turned toward Earth and stopped just beyond the orbit of Mars. In a high-tech command center buried beneath Geneva, General Marcus Steele monitored the situation. A grizzled veteran with decades of experience, he wasn't one to panic. But the silence from the alien fleet unnerved him. "Keep trying to communicate," he ordered his team, "and prepare our defenses." "General, what if they're here to help?" an officer asked. Steele's sharp eyes didn't waver. "And what if they're not?" Back in Chile, Alina's mind raced. The timing was too coincidental. The signal and the alien fleet had to be connected. She reviewed the message again, searching for clues. Her pulse quickened as she realized something chilling. The frequency of the distress call was decreasing. Whoever sent it was either moving farther away or being destroyed. A sudden alert on her screen interrupted her thoughts. "Signal weakening rapidly," it read. Alina grabbed her headset and called the UNSC. "This is Dr. Alina Kor," she said urgently. "We're losing the signal. If we don't act now, we may never find out who sent it or why." Her plea reached General Steele, who considered her words carefully. Before he could respond, the alien ship near Mars began emitting a low-frequency pulse. The sound echoed across Earth's satellites, shaking communication networks. The pulse wasn't a message, it was a scan. "What are they looking for?" Ethan asked, his voice trembling. Alina frowned. "I don't know, but they're not here by accident." The UNSC moonbase issued a red alert. Their sensors detected something alarming. An energy buildup inside the alien ship. It wasn't just scanning Earth. It was preparing for something. General Steele had no choice. "Activate planetary shields." I want every defense system on high alert, he barked. But before anyone could react, the alien ship transmitted a single clear message to Earth's satellites. It wasn't in any known language, but Earth's translation AI quickly deciphered it. Do not interfere. The exterminators are coming. The message sent shockwaves across the planet. Panic spread like wildfire. News outlets scrambled to report the cryptic warning, while conspiracy theorists claimed humanity was doomed. Alina's eyes widened in horror. Exterminators. It's not just a distress call. It's a warning. What do we do? Ethan asked, his voice shaking. Alina stood, her resolve hardening. We find out who sent the signal, and we prepare for whatever's coming. As Earth's leaders debated their next move, humanity faced a terrifying truth. They were no longer alone in the cosmos, and whatever was coming wasn't going to be friendly. For the first time in history, the survival of Earth depended on more than just itself. The stars were calling, and they weren't waiting for an answer. Allies or enemies? The alien ship loomed near Mars like a dark omen, its sleek, obsidian hull reflecting the faint light of the distant sun. Earth's defenses were on high alert, every satellite and weapon trained on the silent intruder. Humanity waited, holding its collective breath. Dr. Alina Kaur sat at her workstation in the Chila Observatory, staring at the faint signal still trickling in from deep space. She felt torn. The message was a plea for help, but the alien ship's ominous behavior didn't feel like an act of goodwill. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden burst of light on her monitor. The alien ship was moving. Slowly, it descended into Mars' atmosphere, ignoring Earth's attempts at communication. They're landing, Alina muttered to herself. The UNSC Moonbase quickly relayed the information to General Marcus Steele. General, the ship is descending onto the Martian surface, a junior officer reported. Steele frowned, his grizzled features tense. Are they preparing an attack, or something else? Before anyone could answer, a new transmission came through. It was unlike the earlier distress signal, a deep, resonant voice speaking directly into Earth's satellites. The words translated instantly. We are the Calrith Alliance. We seek an audience with the leaders of Earth. Steele leaned forward, his military instincts wary. Patch it through to the Global Council, he ordered. Moments later, the world watched as the first image of the Calrith appeared. On screens across Earth, a tall humanoid figure emerged, its silver armor glinting under Martian sunlight. Its face was partially obscured by a mask that seemed to pulsate with energy. Behind it, other figures stood, each carrying weapons that seemed more ceremonial than practical. I am Captain Zareth of the Calrith Alliance, the figure announced. We come with grave news. The galaxy is at war, and your planet is next in line. A ripple of fear swept across the room where Earth's global leaders had gathered. On every news outlet, the same question burned. Who were these Calrith, and why were they here? Suspicion and diplomacy. In the Geneva Command Center, General Steele's voice broke the tense silence. Why should we trust you? Zareth's glowing eyes focused on the camera. You have no reason to trust us, but you have every reason to fear the Zorvans. They are the exterminators. They leave no survivors. We came to warn you, and offer a chance to fight back. Fight back, Steele repeated. What makes you think humanity can stand against a force that has wiped out countless worlds? Zareth hesitated. Because humans are not like other species, your kind possesses a potential. The Zorvans fear you more than any other civilization. That is why they are coming for you now. The room erupted in whispers. What potential? How could humanity, so new to space travel, be a threat to a species capable of intergalactic genocide? The hidden truth. Back in Chile, Alina was listening to the broadcast, her mind racing. The Calrith's words made her uneasy. What did they mean by potential? As she replayed the distress signal, a thought struck her. The signal wasn't just a plea for help. It was a warning specifically for humanity. Her colleague Ethan leaned over her desk, his brow furrowed. Do you think they sent the signal? Alina shook her head. No, the signal came from much farther away. If the Calrith didn't send it, who did? A mysterious discovery. Meanwhile, on Mars, the Calrith ship deployed small drones that began scanning the planet's surface. ONSU reconnaissance units observed the activity, but were ordered to keep their distance. One drone ventured into the Valles Marineris, a canyon system stretching thousands of miles. There, it uncovered something buried beneath layers of red dust, an ancient structure, glowing faintly. The Calrith immediately halted their operations, their previously calm demeanor turning tense. "General Steele," Zareth said, his voice urgent, "we must investigate this site. It is crucial to the survival of your species." Steele's skepticism deepened. Why? What's so important about that structure? Zareth's mask flickered, revealing a glimpse of a scared alien face. Because it holds the key to your greatest weapon. The Zorvans have already sensed its presence. If we don't secure it, they will destroy it. And you. Division and doubt. Back on Earth, the Global Council was divided. Some leaders argued that humanity should ally with the Calrith, while others feared a trap. Protests broke out in major cities, with people demanding transparency from their governments. In a secret meeting, General Steele and Dr. Kaur spoke via video link. "Alina, you've been analyzing the signal longer than anyone. Do you think the Calrith are telling the truth?" Steele asked. Alina hesitated. "I don't know, but the signal wasn't sent by them. Someone else reached out to us, someone who wanted us to act before the Calrith arrived." Steele nodded grimly. "Then we're playing in the dark. If the Calrith are lying, we could be handing them exactly what they want. And if they're not?" Alina countered. Steele didn't answer. The stakes were too high for mistakes. The Zorvans strike. Just as Earth debated its next move, the Zorvans made their presence known. A fleet of small black ships entered the solar system, their arrival unannounced and brutal. They didn't communicate. They attacked. The first strike hit Europa, shattering an Earth research station into debris. Within minutes, the Zorvans deployed swarms of mechanical drones, tearing through the Calrith fleet near Mars. On Earth, panic erupted. News broadcasts showed the destruction in real time. Humanity had no choice. They needed to act. Fast. Humanity's secret weapon. The Zorvans' attack on Europa left humanity stunned. Earth's leaders scrambled to respond as panic spread across the globe. The Calrith Alliance, despite their advanced technology, struggled to hold back the Zorvan drones near Mars. For every drone they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. In the chaos, Dr. Alina Kaur stared at her screen in the observatory. The faint distress signal had vanished completely, replaced by the haunting silence of deep space. The questions gnawed at her. Who sent the signal? What did it mean by extermination imminent? And what was this mysterious potential the Calrith claimed humanity possessed? Her thoughts were interrupted by an urgent call from General Marcus Steele. "Dr. Kaur," Steele said, his voice sharp, "we need answers. Fast. The Calrith are pressuring us to let them excavate that site on Mars. They say it holds a weapon that could turn the tide of this war." Alina frowned. "A weapon? Do we have any evidence of that?" "Not yet," Steele admitted. "But if they're lying, we could be handing over something they'll use against us." Alina leaned forward, her mind racing. "General, let me analyze the data from their scans. If there's something down there, I'll find it." The ruins on Mars. On Mars, Calrith drones worked tirelessly to unearth the ancient structure in the Valles Marineris. The massive, cube-shaped building was unlike anything seen before. Smooth, black stone etched with glowing blue symbols that seemed to shift under the light. Zareth, the Calrith captain, stood before the ruins, his silver armor gleaming under the Martian sun. He placed a hand on the surface, and the symbols flared brighter, responding to his touch. "This is it," he murmured to his crew. "The key to the human's potential. What exactly are we looking for?" one of his officers asked. Zareth hesitated, his voice dropping to a whisper. The forge. If it still functions, it could awaken their true power. A revelation on Earth. Back on Earth, Alina analyzed the Calrith scan data from the Martian site. What she found made her heart race. The structure isn't just a building, she told General Steele in a secure video call. It's some kind of machine, buried for millennia. But it's not Calrith technology. It's far older. How old? Steele asked. Millions of years, Alina replied. Possibly older than the Zorvans themselves. Steele's brow furrowed. And what does it do? Alina hesitated. I don't know, but the energy readings suggest it's not a weapon in the traditional sense. It might be something more abstract. Something tied to biology, maybe even consciousness. Steele's expression darkened. The Calrith claim it's a weapon. Why would they lie? Alina didn't answer. The data was incomplete, and without physically inspecting the ruins, her theories remained guesses. The betrayal. As the excavation on Mars progressed, tensions between the Calrith and humanity escalated. The Calrith demanded full control of the site, but the UNSC refused, insisting on joint operations. One night, as the human and Calrith teams debated the ruins' ownership, a sudden explosion rocked the site. Calrith forces turned their weapons on the humans, driving them out with stunning precision. Zareth addressed the UNSC in a cold, clipped message. This is no longer your concern. The Forge is a galactic artifact, far beyond your comprehension. Your involvement will only endanger us all. Stay away or face the consequences. Steele slammed his fist on the table as he watched the broadcast. I knew they couldn't be trusted. The forgotten weapon. Desperate for answers, Alina dived deeper into humanity's archives. She studied ancient myths, unexplained archaeological findings, and even dismissed conspiracy theories. She pieced together fragments of stories about a great machine buried beneath the Martian surface, something created by an unknown race. Ethan, her colleague, joined her late one night. If this forge is so powerful, why hasn't anyone used it before? Maybe it wasn't meant for just anyone, Alina said. What if it was designed specifically for humans? Ethan frowned. You mean, it's tied to us somehow? Alina nodded. The Calrith said we have potential. What if the forge doesn't just unlock power, it amplifies something unique about us? Creativity, resilience, adaptability. Traits that might be our greatest weapons against the Zorvans. The Zorvan threat grows. While humanity and the Calrith clashed over the forge, the Zorvans advanced further into the solar system. Their drones reached Mars, engaging both Calrith and human forces. Despite their overwhelming numbers, the Zorvans didn't attempt to destroy the ruins outright. They're not here to fight, Alina realized, watching the battle unfold on her monitor. They're here to take the forge. The Awakening. In a daring mission, the UNSC deployed a team of elite operatives to retake the Martian site. As the battle raged above the Red Planet, Alina joined the ground team, determined to activate the forge before the Zorvans or the Calrith could claim it. Inside the ruins, she found herself surrounded by glowing blue symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. At the center of the structure was a massive, crystalline core. When she touched it, the room lit up with blinding light. A voice echoed in her mind, ancient and calm. Humanity has come far. The time has come to awaken your true self. The light engulfed her, and the ruins began to hum with energy. Outside, the Zorvans' drones faltered, their systems disrupted by a strange, invisible force. The Calrith forces fell back, stunned by what they were witnessing. Cliffhanger ending. As the ruins powered up, Alina's voice crackled over Steele's radio. General, the forge isn't a weapon. It's a catalyst. It doesn't destroy. It creates. What does it create? Steele demanded. Alina's voice was calm, but filled with awe, hope, and something the Zorvans will never understand. The battle for Mars. The pulse of energy from the forge rippled through the Martian landscape, a wave of raw, unfiltered power that sent tremors through the ground. The Zorvan drones faltered for a moment, their systems scrambling in confusion. But the moment of respite was fleeting. The Zorvans, relentless and adaptable, quickly regained control, swarming Mars with even more precision and savagery. On the surface, Alina stood before the glowing core of the forge, her mind overwhelmed by the surge of energy. The ruins had come alive, and with it, something deep inside her awakened. The mysterious power wasn't just a tool, it was a connection, an understanding of something ancient, something that transcended the human race. "Alina, we need to move," shouted Ethan, grabbing her arm and pulling her away from the glowing core. Behind them, a Zorvan fighter streaked across the Martian sky, its engines screaming as it dove toward the excavation site. The forge's pulse had attracted their attention, and they wouldn't wait long to take control. General Steele's voice crackled through her earpiece. "Alina, report. What the hell just happened?" "We activated it," Alina replied, breathless. "The forge, it's not a weapon, but a force. It's a conduit to something beyond our understanding. And that something is now attracting every Zorvan in the solar system," Steele growled. "The battle's just begun. We need to defend that site, or everything's lost." A reluctant alliance. The Calrith, observing the surge of energy from their own hidden base on Mars, quickly realized they could no longer afford to stand aside. Though they had kept their distance, hoping to claim the forge for themselves, the Zorvan's relentless assault forced their hand. Zareth, the Calrith captain, stood with his fleet on the edge of the Martian orbit, staring out into the dark abyss of space. His voice was calm but tinged with an edge of urgency. "This is no longer just a fight for survival. This is a fight for the galaxy." "We should have taken the forge while we had the chance," one of his officers said, frustration in his tone. Zareth turned, his silver eyes gleaming with a cold resolve. "If the humans are right, this forge is not a weapon to be wielded by any one race. It is a gift, an evolution of all who use it. We fight alongside them, or we perish alone." The first wave. As the Calrith fleet mobilized, the first wave of Zorvan forces descended onto Mars, their ships resembling massive, pitch-black shadows against the red backdrop of the planet. They began to deploy their swarms of drones, their metallic bodies reflecting the blood-red glow of the Martian sky. General Steele's forces, now joined by Calrith warriors, dug in. Earth's military had never faced an enemy like this, overwhelming, relentless, and relentless. Yet humanity's survival instinct burned brighter than ever. This was their home. Mars was their new front line. "We hold this ground," Steele shouted as he rallied his troops. "We fight for humanity, for Earth, and for the future of the galaxy." The battle was a blur of explosions, gunfire, and laser blasts as Earth's combined forces made a stand. But the Zorvans were like a tidal wave, their drones surging forward in near-perfect synchronization. They had no fear, no hesitation. Their goal was clear, the forge, and nothing would stand in their way. The hidden power. As the Zorvans closed in, Alina and Ethan, along with a small team of UNSC soldiers, raced toward the excavation site, hoping to reach the forge before it was too late. The ruins had become a focal point of the battle, with Zorvan and Calrith forces clashing fiercely around it. "What do we do now?" Ethan asked, his voice trained with fear. Alina looked at the glowing core of the forge, her mind brimming with new, untested theories. The energy it released wasn't just destructive, it was creative. The forge didn't simply respond to physical force, it responded to intent. Humanity's greatest strength, she realized, was not just its capacity for survival, but its ability to imagine, to innovate, to adapt. "The forge isn't a weapon," Alina whispered. "It's a mirror. It reflects what you bring to it." Ethan's brow furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean?" Alina turned to him, a sudden clarity in her eyes. "If we can connect our minds, if we can unite our thoughts, We can use the forge to reshape the battlefield. The call to unity. Alina closed her eyes, focusing on the energy surrounding her. She felt the pulsing hum of the forge, the vibrations deep in her bones. As she reached out with her mind, she felt a sudden rush of connection. Humanity's will, their collective desire to protect, to survive. It surged through her like a tidal wave. She wasn't alone. Humanity, in all its diversity, was one. In that moment, the forge responded. The energy from the core flared bright, enveloping her and her team in a web of light. As the energy spread across the battlefield, strange things began to happen. The Zorvan drones malfunctioned, their programming corrupted by the raw creativity of human will. Kalrith weapons, powered by their own energy, began to form into new, more advanced designs. Energy shields, plasma cannons, and teleportation devices. On the battlefield, chaos turned into a beautiful, chaotic symphony. The Zorvans were no longer unstoppable. They were being beaten at their own game. Humanity's imagination, fueled by the forge, was turning the tide. The Kalrith's choice. Zareth, observing the change from his command ship, was stunned. The Zorvans were faltering, losing control of their once imposing machines. He turned to his officers, his face grim. "The forge is beyond us," Zareth said quietly. "We never understood its true power. The humans, they've unlocked it." The Kalrith captain had a choice. Retreat and let humanity carry the weight of the galaxy's future, or join forces completely, uniting in the fight against the Zorvans. "We fight alongside them," Zareth declared. "This is no longer about domination. This is about survival. Together, we will defeat the Zorvans." The turning point. As the battle raged, the Zorvans realized they were losing. Their drones were malfunctioning, their ships disintegrating. In desperation, the Zorvans called for their ultimate weapon. The Exterminator, a massive ship capable of decimating entire planets. It was on its way to Mars, a harbinger of total destruction. But now, humanity wasn't just waiting for the storm to pass. They had become the storm. The forge had transformed them, and they would face the Exterminator with every ounce of strength they had. The hidden enemy. The Zorvan Exterminator ship arrived in Mars orbit, casting a shadow so vast it seemed to eclipse the planet itself. Its black, jagged hull resembled the maw of some ancient cosmic beast. From its belly, hundreds of smaller ships launched in perfect formation, swarming toward the surface like locusts. This was no ordinary assault. This was a full-scale extermination. General Marcus Steele watched from Earth's command center as the Exterminator's fleet prepared to strike. "This is it," he muttered to himself, his voice thick with resolve. "If we can't stop them here, there won't be a second chance." The combined forces of humanity and the Kalrith Alliance had managed to hold their ground thus far, but the sheer size and firepower of the Exterminator threatened to break their lines. They were outmatched, outnumbered. The forge had empowered them, yes, but against an enemy this ruthless, raw creativity could only go so far. Alina Kor, now a central figure in humanity's survival, stood on a warship orbiting Mars, staring at the monstrous vessel through a viewport. The forge's energy still pulsed within her, its echo buzzing through her mind, but even it seemed to shrink in comparison to the vastness of the threat before them. "We can't win this fight with weapons alone," Alina said, her voice a mixture of determination and uncertainty. Ethan, who had stayed by her side since the activation of the forge, nodded grimly. "We need to do something they won't expect, something the Zorvans have never seen." Alina turned to him, eyes sharp. "And what's that?" Ethan's smile was small but confident. "We take the fight to them. Not with force, but with strategy. If we use the forge's power to confuse them, make them question everything they know about us, we might have a chance." The illusion of power. Alina wasn't sure what Ethan had in mind, but desperation breeds creativity. They had little time before the Exterminator's final assault began. She turned to Steele's hologram, his figure flickering as his voice boomed through the war room. "We need your full cooperation," she said. "I've come up with a plan, but it requires us to act fast and work together. We'll need every ship, every soldier, and every piece of technology at our disposal." General Steele's expression was tight with tension, but he nodded. "What's the plan, Dr. Core?" "Deception," Alina replied. "We're going to make them think we have more power than we do." Ethan leaned in. "We'll use the Forge's energy to create illusions, holographic projections, fake ships, and false weapon signatures. We'll make them think Earth has built a fleet in secret, something even they can't defeat." The room fell silent as the weight of the plan settled in. This wasn't just a fight for survival. This was a gamble, a desperate play for time. If the Zorvans believed the illusion, they might hesitate. If they saw through it, humanity would be crushed in an instant. Alina addressed the room. "The Forge is connected to every sentient mind that has ever used it. We can manipulate its power to project our thoughts. If we create enough uncertainty in the Zorvans' minds, it might buy us enough time to strike a decisive blow." The Great Deception. For hours, the combined human and Calrith forces worked in synchrony, creating the illusion of an unstoppable force. They constructed fake fleets using holograms, weaponized drones, and ship signals amplified by the Forged power. The illusion was perfect. A vast armada of ships surrounding Mars, with thousands of weapon systems primed and ready. Alina and Ethan focused on tapping into the Forge's deepest power. They were no longer just using it as a tool. They were blending with it, amplifying their own will, and creating a vast collective vision. Every human mind connected to the Forge contributed to the illusion. It wasn't just technology. It was willpower, human creativity, and the collective resolve to survive. "Everything is set," Ethan said, his fingers dancing over the console as he calibrated the final signals. Alina nodded. "Now we wait. The Zorvans take the bait." The Zorvans, confident in their overwhelming power, approached Mars with no hesitation. As they neared the planet, their sensors picked up the massive fleet they thought humanity had hidden. They had never expected this, a full military buildup right under their noses. The Exterminator's commanding officer, a ruthless Zorvan warlord known as Commander Varath, scowled at the display. "They've built an entire fleet," he growled. "No matter. We will destroy them all." But as the Zorvan ships prepared to engage, the deception took hold. The first wave of ships sent by the Zorvans collided with an enormous holographic fleet, their weapons firing into empty space. The illusions flickered and shifted, creating false targets and decoys. Varath's eyes narrowed. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered, his fingers dancing over the ship's controls. "The signals are too perfect. The weapons' signatures don't match." And then it dawned on him. He had been tricked. But it was too late. The illusion had worked. The Zorvans were paralyzed by confusion and doubt. They hesitated, unsure of their next move. For the first time, they were not the ones dictating the terms of the battle. The moment of truth. While the Zorvans were caught in the trap, Alina and Steele's forces launched their real counteroffensive. Using the confusion as cover, they attacked the Zorvan drones head-on. Calrith ships, powered by their own alien technology, struck from the flank, overwhelming the Zorvans' now disrupted forces. General Steele's voice rang out through the chaos, his command like a rallying cry. "This is our moment. Push them back and take the Exterminator down." The human and Calrith forces, emboldened by their newfound hope, fought harder than ever. The Zorvans were thrown off balance, their once imposing fleet now scattered and disoriented. But the Exterminator remained, the key to their survival, the true prize. As the battle raged, Alina stared at the dark silhouette of the Exterminator. They were winning, but the war was far from over. It would take everything they had to take down this formidable weapon. The last stand. The Zorvans were no longer the relentless force they once were. The battle for Mars had shifted, and with the illusion still reverberating through their minds, the once unstoppable war machine was stumbling. The coordinated chaos created by the humans and Cowrith had cracked the Zorvans' confidence. But the exterminator, looming like a dark cloud over the battlefield, remained an unstoppable force. General Marcus Steele stood at the command center, his face lined with years of hard decisions, his fingers hovering over the console that controlled Earth's final assault. His heart raced. They had fought through hell to get here, but the Zorvans had one last ace to play. The exterminator was their ultimate weapon, capable of destroying entire worlds. If they didn't stop it now, Mars, Earth, and the entire solar system could be lost. Alina Kor, now more connected to the Forge than ever before, stood beside Steele. Her mind buzzed with the remnants of the energy she had channeled, and though she knew it had been a victory, the next challenge loomed even larger. "We have one shot at this," Alina said, her voice unwavering. "If we can get close enough to the exterminator's core, we might be able to overload its power systems. But we have to act fast. The Zorvans know we're coming." Ethan, ever at Alina's side, nodded. "The Zorvans will never expect us to attack their flagship directly. We can use their arrogance against them." Steele turned to face the entire crew of soldiers and engineers. "We're going in. The Cowrith will distract them. We'll take the exterminator down from the inside." The bold assault. The strategy was simple. Use the Cowrith fleet's remaining ships to create a diversion, drawing the exterminator's attention long enough for a small human strike team to board and infiltrate the vessel. The operation, codenamed Operation Eclipse, was humanity's final chance to win the war. A small fleet of human stealth ships launched from Earth's space stations. These ships, designed for quick infiltration, would carry the team directly to the exterminator's docking bay. The risk was high, but the plan was their only option. There was no room for mistakes. As the first Cowrith ships launched their final assault, the Zorvans' attention shifted. The distraction worked. The exterminator's massive weapons turned on the Cowrith, letting the human fleet slip through the chaos. Alina, Ethan, and the rest of the team boarded the lead ship, cloaked from enemy sensors. Their hearts beat in synchrony, their minds sharp with determination. Once inside the exterminator, they were immediately struck by the overwhelming scale of the ship. It was a living, breathing fortress, an organic metal hybrid built for one thing: destruction. The corridors pulsed with the same unnatural energy that powered the Zorvans, the walls alive with humming energy conduits. "This place feels like a nightmare," Ethan muttered, his voice tense. "It's like the whole ship is aware of us." Alina's grip tightened on her weapon. "Stay focused. The core is our target. The Zorvans fight back." As Alina and her team advanced deeper into the exterminator, the ship seemed to resist them at every turn. Zorvan soldiers, more agile and fearsome than anything humanity had faced, appeared from every shadow. The humans fought with all they had, their weapons barely holding off the onslaught. The Zorvans were unlike anything they had fought before. Their armor absorbed energy blasts, and their movements were as swift as predatory beasts. "They're everywhere," shouted one of the soldiers, firing his plasma rifle at a swarm of Zorvans who charged forward, their claws flashing in the dim light. "We can't keep this up," another soldier gasped, reloading. "We need to get to the core now." But just as the team pushed forward, the ship itself seemed to react. The walls of the exterminator shimmered with dark energy, and the floor beneath their feet buckled and twisted. It was as if the ship was alive, trying to prevent them from reaching its heart. The force of the ship's self-defense systems was overwhelming. "We've got to move faster," Alina shouted. "We can't let this ship get another second to adapt." Ethan's eyes scanned the environment, calculating their next move. "There's a passage up ahead. It's the quickest route to the core. We can't fight through all of them. Let's go." The team sprinted, pushing their bodies to the limit. As the Zorvans closed in, a stray blast from one of the Zorvan warriors hit a nearby energy conduit, sending a burst of electricity through the hallway. Several soldiers fell, but the rest of the team pressed on. adrenaline coursing through their veins. The final countdown. Alina's heart raced as they reached the exterminator's central chamber. The core was surrounded by an impenetrable force field, a glowing blue shield powered by Zorvan technology. The moment they stepped into the chamber, the core flared to life, its energy readings spiking. The Zorvan's countermeasures had kicked in, and it was clear that the exterminator's defenses had adapted to their presence. "We've got no time," Ethan yelled. "We need to disable the shield. Now." Alina reached for the forge's energy, drawing it into herself once again, her mind brimming with purpose. She focused on the core, feeling the pulse of energy thrumming through the exterminator, and with all her will, she imagined the shield breaking. The power of humanity's collective strength surged, and with a massive crackle, the blue shield shimmered and collapsed. The team rushed forward, planting explosives at the base of the core. But before they could finish, the exterminator's final line of defense, its central command system, activated. "We've got one shot at this," Alina shouted. "Get out of the chamber. Now." The countdown began. The exterminator falls. As the human team scrambled to escape, the core began to overload. The sheer intensity of the forge's energy, mixed with the ship's volatile power systems, triggered a massive explosion. The walls of the exterminator shook violently, and the ship's systems began to shut down. Outside, the Cowrith forces, seeing the massive ship faltering, turned their attention to the remnants of the Zorvan fleet. The tide of the battle had shifted. The exterminator was no more. On the surface of Mars, General Steele watched in disbelief as the Zorvan fleet began to retreat. The unstoppable force had been broken. Alina and her team barely made it out of the exterminator's heart before it detonated. As they made their way back to their ship, their bodies aching from the grueling mission, they looked back at the blazing wreckage. The battle was far from over, but the greatest weapon the Zorvans had was gone. "Humanity's not done yet," Ethan said, grinning through the exhaustion. Alina smiled faintly, her eyes still glowing with the forge's energy. "No, we're just getting started." Humanity unleashed. The silence following the exterminator's destruction was deafening. Across Mars, the remnants of the Zorvan fleet scattered, retreating in disarray. The pulse of energy from the forge still resonated, a lingering reminder of the incredible power humanity had just unleashed. It wasn't just a victory, it was a transformation. General Marcus Steele stood at the command center, watching the retreating Zorvan ships with a mix of disbelief and relief. The exterminator, the Zorvan's ultimate weapon, was gone. It had been humanity's most dangerous and devastating adversary, but now, with its destruction, the Zorvans had lost their edge. Earth, with the help of the Cowrith, had done the impossible. Alina Kor stood on the observation deck of the flagship, looking out over the war-torn surface of Mars. The battle was won, but something had changed in her. Something deep within her mind, connected to the forge, had shifted. She had seen humanity's potential firsthand, their ability to adapt, to create, to survive. It was far more than a weapon. It was their greatest strength. She felt the power of the forge in her veins, but now it wasn't just a force, it was a connection. A bond shared by everyone who had fought in this war. Humanity had proven that they could stand against the galaxy's most terrifying forces. "Alina," Ethan said, stepping beside her. His face was tired, but his eyes shone with a new kind of understanding. "We've done it. We've beaten them." Alina turned to him, her face reflecting the same awe. "No, we've just begun." The call to the stars. In the wake of the victory, the Cowrith gathered to assess the new balance of power. Their ships hovered just beyond Mars, watching Earth with growing respect. Zareth, the Cowrith captain, had seen something in humanity that no one else had. Their resilience, their raw creativity. Something in their biology made them unique, made them more than just another civilization in the galaxy. "We underestimated them," Zareth said, staring at Earth's glowing blue orb through the viewport. His voice was solemn, yet full of admiration. The Zorvans feared them for a reason. His second-in-command, Vera, nodded. They don't just fight. They innovate. They adapt, even in the face of total annihilation. We saw it in their tactics, their will to survive. And the Forge, Zareth added, his voice trailing off. It's not just a weapon. It's a mirror reflecting the true nature of its user, for better or worse. Vyra's gaze turned toward Earth. What will they do now? Zareth's eyes narrowed. That is the question. Humanity has unlocked something powerful, but what will they choose to do with it? Will they become a force for peace, or will they seek to conquer? A new era. Back on Earth, humanity had taken its first steps into the greater cosmos. The Zorvans had been driven back, but the battle had changed the very nature of who they were as a species. Their connection to the Forge had given them a glimpse of a greater potential. The way they thought, the way they approached problems. It was no longer just about survival. It was about growth, about creation, about forging a path that had never existed before. The UVEN's emergency summit convened to decide the future. They had to make a choice. With the Zorvans driven out, the galaxy was open to humanity, open to exploration, to new alliances, to unknown challenges. But there was a darker truth, one that hung over their heads like a shadow. The Zorvans would return. And next time, they might not be alone. General Steele, now a hero on Earth, stood before the summit leaders. We've earned our place in this galaxy, he said, his voice strong. But this victory is just the beginning. We can't rest on our laurels. The galaxy is full of dangers, and we've seen the depths to which our enemies will sink. We must be ready for whatever comes next. But as Steele spoke, Alina and Ithan stood off to the side, discussing quietly. They had already seen something no one else had. The potential humanity now held. I've seen it, Ithan, Alina said, her eyes filled with wonder. We can build a future where we don't just survive. We can shape it, create it. The Forge didn't just unlock our strength. It unlocked our minds, our imaginations. It showed us the path forward. Ethan nodded, his expression serious. But it's more than just technology. The Zorvans thought they could crush us with their power. What they didn't understand was that our true strength isn't in our weapons. It's in our ability to think beyond the limits they imposed on us. As Alina and Ithan spoke, a new message was broadcast to every corner of Earth. The voice that came through was calm and clear, resonating with a quiet power. It was Zareth, the Calrith captain. Humans of Earth, Zareth began, we have watched your progress and witnessed your potential. Your species has demonstrated something few others have, the ability to fight, to adapt, and most importantly, to dream. We, the Calrith, offer you a place among the stars. Join us in the Galactic Alliance, where your unique talents can shape the future of the universe. Together, we can accomplish what none of us can do alone. The path forward. For the first time in history, humanity wasn't just a small planet in a distant corner of the galaxy. They were part of something bigger. They had proven themselves in battle, but more importantly, they had proven that they could be a force of creation, not destruction. They were no longer bound by the limits of their world. They could reach the stars. As Earth's leaders considered the Calrith offer, Alina, Ethan, and a small group of visionaries stepped into a new role. The world had seen their potential. They were the torchbearers of this new era, the architects of humanity's future. They would go beyond the known, exploring strange new worlds, forging alliances, and seeking answers to the ancient mysteries of the galaxy. But there was something else that lingered in the back of their minds. The Forge had shown them only a glimpse of what humanity was capable of. The question remained, what would they choose to do with this new power? Would they use it to protect, to explore, to heal? Or would they let it consume them, like the Zorvans had feared? The answer was still unwritten. The stars awaited, and humanity's place among them was just beginning.